Hey everyone, welcome to a special Tic Tac Taiko. We finally hit 300 subscribers. Now as far as YouTube goes, that's not even a blip on a blip, but for me it means a lot. And I like to do something special for every milestone of my channel. So this week I'm going to take my favorite Bachi trick combination, which I've been doing for well over 10 years, and I'm going to teach it to you, break it down piece by piece. I don't have a name for it, so today I'm officially calling it the Wombo combo. And this is how it goes. And before you get any nonsense in your head about it being too complicated or too fast or too whatever, it's not. I'm going to break it down. That's the whole point of this week's video, and you can do this. So come with me and I'll teach you how to do the 300 subscriber special, the Wombo combo. The first thing I want to say about this combination is that it's 4 tricks in one. That's what makes it a combination. So if you can figure out the individual tricks and then you figure out how to transition from one to the other, you've got yourself a combo. That's going to make this much more approachable. Also, every trick in this combination is a trick I've done an entire video on, a long video on, and I'm going to link to each one of them below. Having said that, because I've done videos on each of the tricks, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the actual trick itself. I might talk about it a little bit, but if you get stuck on a particular trick, watch the video. It's going to have way more information than this video will. This video is more about the transitions and the entire combination as a whole. All right, here we go. I'm going to break everything down. Got my marked Bachi here. I recommend you have one as well. Got a soft-ish surface to prevent damage to the Bachi and to the floor. We'll start with the palm spin, or just spin. One collar going to the back is 1 rotation, or to the front is 1 rotation. So when it goes 360, that's 2 rotations. I may have used different terminology in the original video, but I'm human, it happens. Get used to doing this before we move on to the next trick. Just let the momentum wear out. If it gets a little wonky, that's okay. You want to be able to do more rotations than less. If you're only able to get 1 or barely able to get 2, you're going to want to practice a little bit longer. For this trick, I recommend 2, 3, or 4 rotations. Only 1 rotation that has way too much potential energy that hasn't bled off yet. And once you get past 4, you're really struggling to keep that momentum going. So 2, 3, or 4 is very comfortable for me. Don't worry about counting it. You'll start to realize it's a good middle ground. What you want to pay attention to here is the direction of the spin. It's essentially going horizontal to the floor across your palm. You want to continue that same direction. So the next trick, which is a wrist twirl, continues it going outside and around. So I'm letting it go. Let's say I'm going 2 rotations, and then I'm going to catch by pinching between the thumb and index finger. Now it might be different knuckles and different parts of the finger. It doesn't really matter, but you want to have a fulcrum somewhere around here. And then rotate your wrist to continue the same motion, more or less, that you had with the wrist spin. It may not be exactly horizontal. This one's at a slight angle, but the feel is there. Pinch. I'm using these fingers to stop it, but I would normally just pinch it and let it continue. Turn my wrist downwards. So wrist is up for the spin, pinch, and then turn it down, but not down so it's moving down, down so that it's now rotating. And you can see the wrist has to go up and down to continue the motion. As slow as I can do this, spin, pinch, and around. Spin and around. It's not so much that I'm trying to pinch the bachi hard and hold it tight. If anything, I'm kind of trying to guide it into this space somewhere between the two fingers, so that this is uncontrolled and unguided, and this is slightly guided. Free, guided. Free, guided. Good to practice this slow if you can. You won't be able to get too much speed, but that's okay. You're working on the mechanics. And it's good to practice this fast to really feel what the momentum is like and how little you have to control it. The next trick is the finger twirl. So we just did the wrist twirl. Now we're going to go into the fingers. The finger twirl, remember you have this momentum, this horizontal kind of going outside momentum. You're going to try to continue that same general direction, but instead of keeping your fingers sort of on the outside, you're going to eventually open up and let it go between the index and middle finger. And then from here, it follows the path through the fingers. You don't always have to, and you won't always be able to get to the last finger, but the idea is to at least be able to get from the wrist twirl into that first finger twirl. And that's going to be done by opening up the hand so much that the other fingers lay flat and the bachi can go on top or across them. Versus before, they're all kind of getting out of the way. This time, they're only getting out of the way so that the bachi can slip in between. One way to practice this is to just get around the middle finger and stop. Your thumb has not left the bachi yet. Eventually, your thumb's going to move out of the way, and then you'll be walking down the fingers. But just to practice going from the wrist twirl into the beginning of the finger twirl, twirling wrist, twirling, stop the wrist. Once you get this entry, then eventually open up, let go with the thumb. And you can make any section of this into an isolated drill where you don't complete it if you really want to focus on one area. Trying it slow is a great finger exercise because you don't have the momentum to move the bachi down, which is a lot of work for the hand. Having the momentum makes it much easier, especially coming out of a twirl with the wrist. In fact, it becomes a little more difficult at the end because you have too much and this part's really hard to control. So sometimes don't worry about getting it all the way down. Just get past the first two fingers and you can easily add the third one later. And if I do it slow, same thing. Getting it to this point, and you can see how it wants to continue that motion, that momentum. So again, from the wrist twirl into the finger twirl, open up and let it walk down. Come on, come on. There you go. One more. So at this point, let's put together the first three tricks. Remember, you've got the palm spin, the wrist twirl into the finger twirl. Palm, wrist, finger. Palm, wrist, finger. And at this point, if any of these transitions are stumping you, stop the video, work on that transition or work on that trick. It doesn't have to be done with speed. Speed makes some things easier, but other things difficult. And if the angles are a little weird, especially when you're going slow, who cares? You're trying to feel momentum, not making specific angles and lines and shapes. Like that. That was horrible, but I felt where the bachi wanted to go. If I'm worried about making it perfect, then I'm going to wind up doing a lot of weird exaggerated things and it still may not work. That was pretty decent. The last part of this combo, and I'm going to say last in parentheses because there's more you can add on, but the last part of the official combo is going from the finger twirl back into another wrist twirl. So the finger twirl ends wherever you want it to end. Let's say it ends in the middle. Your momentum is wanting it to carry the same direction it's been going in general, which is outside, horizontal. But from here, you're going to get it to the point where it's pointing towards and away from you, and you're going to essentially make a fist. By squeezing my fingers, it's going to come down, and I'm going to use that momentum to do what I call forward and outside. So rather than going straight into my palm, which doesn't help anybody, I'm going to turn my hand over, lift my elbow up to help that rotation, and it'll go past my forearm, and then it'll want to continue this. Now the grip isn't great. I don't want to grip it here. I want to grip it back here. My wrist twirl should always be back here. But I want to make sure the idea of momentum is going this way. And I can twirl this way. It's just not great. Ugh. So, finger twirls to here, and then squeeze down. Almost like I'm trying to hit here, but I'm not hitting anything, I'm rotating. The letting go, this can be done in a couple of ways, but the easiest way is probably going to be, especially say if you're in the middle, is just to get your thumb touching it, and when you squeeze down, use your thumb to pull it against your hand, and your fingers can let go. Then, well, it's going to be very easy to get that pinch that we had with the original wrist twirl, which was this way. So let's see if I can do it this way. Finger twirl, momentum's carrying it around. I'm trying to get my thumb to squeeze it here, so it actually isn't able to go all the way towards you and down. It's coming close, and then it's going to make a shortcut, squeeze down. So around, squeeze down. Around, squeeze down. This is really hard to demonstrate slowly, by the way. At this point, you have all 4 tricks, all 3 transitions. You can practice the whole thing or just specific chunks, whatever speed you want. It's up to you. I recommend trying the whole thing, even if it's uncomfortable, because that momentum and that flow, I think, helps. But if you're finding yourself stuck on a particular part, work it, work it, work it. Work it slow, work it fast. Break it down. Use your other hand to figure out where your bachi is supposed to go. Whatever works for you, try different ways. The 5th and final trick, which is unofficial because I don't always include it, is to do a second finger twirl. It's similar but different to the first finger twirl, and I'll show you how. We've got our palm spin, we've got our wrist twirl. The first finger twirl goes horizontal across the palm. Then we go into the second wrist twirl, and you can either keep it going in one direction, or you can rotate so that you're alternating which side is on which side. Well, that made sense. Then from here, you're going to do more of a vertical wrist twirl, finger twirl. So rather than it going around horizontal, it's going forward vertical. And I talked about this at great length in the twirl video, so I'm not going to worry about it here too much. Whoops. But the big difference here, if you watch red side, horizontal finger twirl, red is coming towards the underside of my pinky finger. If I was to lift the finger up, it's going to hit the palm, the pad here. The vertical one, if I use red again, is coming down. It's going in this way. And even though it's kind of coming around the same way, it's more going this way across my hand. Now, if I broke this down, it would look very similar, but it does not feel the same. This feeling feels like it's going basically across my palm, but with the fingers in the way. This feeling feels like it's going in and out through my fingers. So technically, closer to the same thing than you might think, but it doesn't feel that way. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if it doesn't make sense yet, When you do it, you'll see what I mean. Or hey, you might not feel like there's much of a difference at all, but I do. So we've got our last wrist twirl, the fourth trick. And then when you feel like it, open up, and in between the fingers they go. From here, I tend to stay at the last two tricks. And I find there's a really nice flow here if I do one finger twirl, wrist twirl to finger twirl, or wrist twirl to a double finger twirl. This is fun for me. I'll stay here for a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. Now, if I'm going to hold true to what I say all the time, you need to practice this on the other hand. It may be way more difficult. It may be way easier. You won't know until you try it. But you owe it to yourself to make sure that both hands get a taste. So this is one of those things that's fun to find out what your tendencies are. And even though it might feel really clumsy to do in the other hand, which might be your weaker hand, it's really good to try to keep yourself balanced so you're not lopsided. And don't you want to be able to do this with both hands? It's pretty fun. Because you don't have to. And now you have the Wombo combo to play with. Maybe you haven't mastered it yet. That's fine. You can play with it. You can add to it. You can take away from it. You can make it slower or faster. You can try it with different bachi. Trying this with an Taiko bachi versus a shime bachi is an entirely different combination and worth trying. But really, this is about having fun, teaching your hands and fingers what they can do, and building up strength and dexterity. I mean, one great benefit to doing tricks and combinations like this is not dropping your bachi so often. I can't tell you how many times I have literally snatched a bachi from the jaws of defeat, or the floor, if you will. If you like this video, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because there's 300 people who already think it's a good idea. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much. It means a lot. So until next time, keep on practicing and be well.